All right. Right. I didn't know you cared so much, you people. Everyone's waiting. Good afternoon, everyone. I've just rushed back from certainly the wonderful school ceremony for Anzac Day up at Emerald North School, just helping elderly RSL member Kev McIntyre back to his vehicle, which is a very steady process, I can assure you. But certainly, Kev is a member of the RSL here, and certainly is an RSL returned vet. Certainly representing New Zealand in some way, shape or form, epitomises, I guess, very much what certainly tomorrow is all about. And it's just wonderful that so many schools across the Central Highlands take the time to have their school ceremonies today. And I know it falls on a very important council meeting day, but certainly it was a great opportunity to be at their services today. All right, a little bit out of breath. We've got a cast of things to do today, a cast of thousands in the room. We have some awards that we're going to do this afternoon, I think, prior to the meeting, and I'll hand over to Jason to do that in due course. But look, councillors, obviously an interesting agenda with some reports from just about all our departments. We've had our meetings this morning. We can get underway. I think, perhaps some of our awards.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So we will start the meeting today acknowledging some of the awards in terms of the training and passes for the organisation. There is a video to play here that Scott has put forward that should be embedded in the presentations. Just before you start that, Marnie, I suppose, not long ago our CEO Scott Mason sent the Learning and Development team an email to nominate our best and brightest for the 2018 Queensland Training Awards, encompassing all the areas of the training sector categories for apprentices, trainees, vocational students, teachers and trainers, as well as training providers and employers. The prestigious Queensland Training Award, which celebrates top achievers in training throughout Queensland, will celebrate its 57th year in 2018. Through these awards, we recognise our employees that strive for and have achieved success, as well as best practice and innovation in our vocational education and training, just as it's important that our organisation showcases all that's great about our employees, also all that's great about training. On behalf of Central Highlands Regional Council, the Human Resources team responded to the CEO's request and nominated 8 employees for 10 nominations across 5 award categories in the Central Queensland region. So they were 6 nominees for the Bob Marshman Trainees of the Year, 1 Harry Hewenschild Apprentice of the Year, 1 Vocational Student of the Year, 1 Equity VET Student of the Year, and 1 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Student of the Year. Each nomination required nearly 3,000 words, addressing a selection criteria that included a 300-word overview, 400 words outlining their personal career and study achievements, 400 words on communication, teamwork and leadership skills, 400 words about the nominee's ability to represent the national training system at a broader level, and 400 words on other pursuits such as community involvement, being ambassadors for their training pathway, their registered training organisation, and council as a host organisation. Winners for the coveted, as well as submission and endorsement letters to support council's nomination and workplace photos. So, weighted at 50% of the total score, nominees must compete at a regional level by competing, again, in a written word nomination. Again, weighted at 50% of the total score, 5 nominees from each category are then chosen for an interview by a judging panel of 5. 3 finalists are chosen to attend the Regional Queensland Training Awards in Mackay in July. Regional winners will then contest their category at the state level, competing against other winners for the coveted Queensland Training Award in Brisbane in September, and then winners from each state will attend the Australian Training Awards in Canberra in November this year. Obviously there's a great process attached to all of that, and I know when I invite Paul to come down in a moment to talk through our nominations, you'll start to see the depth, breadth and immense talent we have in our organisation, representing the trainees and apprentices that have been nominated. I know, Mr Mayor, we have some certificates to present. Paul, if I can ask you to come down and start that process for us and just outline as you need to for the council. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks very much for inviting us along today. It's a huge achievement for what we've achieved for the Human Resources team. As Jason said before, 8 employees across 10 qualifications and across 5 categories. A lot of effort went into that. So in a week we wrote 30,000 words for our 10 nominations, and those nominations centred around how do they communicate in the workplace? What makes them exceptional in teamwork? Where do they get their common purpose from? What leadership abilities do they demonstrate back at the workplace? So we soon discovered that what they learn off the job is now being applied on the job. As part of their nomination, they also had to provide responses in terms of community work they do, as well as other pursuits and how it's affected their personal life. Central Islands Regional Council is quite proud to be a sponsor for the Community Training Initiative of the Year. This award is awarded for providing outstanding assistance to Queenslanders to gain the skills, experience and vocational education and training required to stay in the workplace and in community-based not-for-profit organisation. The regional training awards will be delivered in July, I think July 21, with the state of in Brisbane in September. We have a number of employees. I'd like to introduce Caitlin Archer. Caitlin is our finance trainee in the finance accounting team and in the corporate services department. Caitlin was nominated for the Bob Marshman Training of the Year by completing a Certificate 3 in Business, as well as it was completed through Skills Top. Caitlin, before you accept your nomination, why did you choose to do Certificate 3 in Business?
I've always had an interest in finance and wanted to pursue a career in finance, so I was very grateful to get this opportunity to broaden my knowledge and develop skills that I then brought back and applied to my work at Council.
What did you gain from your completing your certificate?
I've gained personal gains, I've gained a lot of confidence. I've also been able to go around to the different sections within finance, like go to the creditors in Springshaw, be involved in stock takes and really learn something new every day.
Apply what you've learned off the job. Please, with me. Next, I'd like to introduce Zena Butler. Zena was a records trainee in information management, Department of Corporate Services. Zena completed Certificate 3 in Business at Skills at Top and was nominated for the Bob Marshman Training of the Year. Zena, why did you choose Certificate 3 traineeship?
To answer your question, Paul, I chose Certificate 3 to initially help develop my skills and to also pursue my interest in information-based services. So initially I began with Buckland Regional Council. I did a traineeship through them.
Yes.
And I guess I just wanted to build on that knowledge.
Well, we're glad to have you at Central Highlands Regional Council. Thank you. All right, next I'd like to introduce Will DeBree. Will is a procurement trainee in the procurement team for corporate services. Will was nominated for the Bob Marshman Trainee of the Year by completing a Certificate 3 in Business at Skills at Top. Will, why did you choose to do a traineeship?
Yep. So there's a couple of reasons I did. Firstly, it's a nationally recognised course, so in that I know that what I learned through my traineeship, I can directly relate it and apply those skills in my job. The other reason I chose to do my traineeship was to play an active role in sort of developing and growing our community. Through procurement, we see a lot of businesses grow, obviously through a lot of jobs and whatnot.
And what is the vibe from learning off the job to your job?
Yeah, just mainly like Zena and Caitlin's for me, a lot of confidence, public speaking, obviously dealing with the public, dealing with businesses. Yeah, just an all-round greater awareness of what's going on in the community.
Excellent work, thank you. Please join me. I'd like to introduce Michelle Darby. Michelle is a ranger trainee for Ranger Services. Michelle belongs to the Communities Department. Michelle has been nominated for the Bob Marshall Trainee of the Year for completing a Certificate 3 in Conservation and Land Management with Queensland Agricultural Training Colleges. How are you feeling?
Yes.
You understand that part?
No.
Okay, Michelle, why did you choose to study Certificate 3?
I chose it, well, fortunate enough that council allowed me the opportunity first of all to be able to go back into the workforce. I am a mother of 2 children and I had been doing a lot of home care, so I hadn't been in the workplace for quite some time. So the traineeship allowed me to come back into the workplace, obtain qualifications and skills in an area that I was quite passionate about, which is conservation and also the land management. It has also personally allowed me to build more confidence. I would have never been able to have the opportunity to do this before.
That's good.
And it's also taught me challenges in the workplace when it comes to conflict resolution. And it's also built a lot of resilience as well in dealing with that too.
Well done, congratulations. All right, next I'd like to introduce John Frisk. John is a procurement officer, or still is a procurement officer for our procurement team in corporate services. John was nominated for 2 awards, one for Vocational Student of the Year and the second award for Vet Equity Student of the Year for completing a diploma of procurement and contracting through Major Training Services. John, why did you choose to do a diploma?
Well, I'd been here for approximately 2 years at the time that we were looking at enrolling, and it was a nationally recognised qualification, as Will said. And to be honest, I just wanted to get out there and find out what is out there. I wanted to learn it. I wanted to know what the industry standard was so that I could get back here and apply it to what we have here. And the working with other people and being able to help them was a big win for me, so that's why I picked it.
What about personal and career gains? Have you made any by studying the diploma?
Yeah, a lot. Mainly to do, like I said again, it was amazing. It was a real eye-opener to see what was out there, and doing the course with other local government people. We networked a lot and got to know each other. One of the biggest gains was learning the best practice, the Act and regulations, and how to transfer that across to what we do here and help people out with our challenging procurement tasks that we have. Not always easy, but it is rewarding when we were able to bring it back and make it happen.
Well done. Please join me. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Johnny Cavatani. Johnny's been awarded for 2 qualifications. At first, he was started studying apprentice diesel fitter. Then we had a restructure, so we obviously moved Johnny into another apprenticeship as in a mechanical trade, diesel fitter. Johnny's actually been studying for 7 years, so for me that shows a lot of resilience, a lot of discipline, a lot of motivation, because each apprenticeship is 4 years long, so to complete 2 with our organisation is an amazing accomplishment. So Johnny's been nominated for the Harry Hochschild Apprentice of the Year by completing Certificate 3 in Engineering, Fitting and Turning, and Certificate 3 in a Mechanical Trade, Diesel Fitting. Why did you choose your trade, Johnny?
Applied for Certificate 3 in Mechanical Engineering to expand my knowledge and understanding in the repair and maintenance of heavy or light plant within the council's fleet. and keep them maintained to the national standards.
Well done. So have you gained any personal gains or any career gains from completing your studies?
Right now, this is probably the biggest gain.
Yes. So you've got the colleagues. Well done. Well done. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Joel Paulson. Joel's been nominated for 2 categories, one for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Student of the Year, as well as the Bob Marshman Trainee of the Year. Johnny was a horticulture trainee in Parks and Gardens in our Communities Department. Johnny completed his typical 2 in horticulture through Central Queensland University. And Joel, I'm so sorry. I'm feeling nervous as well, so please forgive me. Joel Paulson. Joel, why did you do a certificate 2 in horticulture? What prompted that?
It was an interest and a passion. I've done a lot of farm work over the years. So in that I have experience, but I didn't have a qualification. So that was the main interest for me, to have that piece of paper to share and to prove to my children. My second oldest got a certificate before I did, so, but now I'm one for one here.
And have you made any career gains or personal gains in what you've learned on the job?
Lots of friends, communication, self-esteem. I've gone flatline now, sorry.
That's all right. So, please join me in congratulating. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce to you Tyson Smith. Tyson was nominated for the Bob Marshman Trainee of the Year for completing a certificate 3 in Information, Digital Media and Technology through TAFE in North Queensland. Why did you choose IT?
Great question, Paul.
Well done.
So definitely first up, I've always had an interest in IT. It's such a broad field. You learn so much, talk to so many people, do something new every single day. And I've always had an interest in networking and project management, and coming into this role has definitely allowed me to build on those skills, which is excellent. Very grateful.
Have you made any career gains or personal gains as a result of your studies?
Personal and career, yes. Personal gains would definitely be very self-confidence in myself. Career gains, I'd like to think that I built my project management skills a lot. Some of you may know I was part of the rollout of the Surface Hubs, the audio and visual in this room when it was first installed, and also the Office 365 pushed out and moved to the cloud. And I'm actually undertaking a couple of other projects now that I feel that I have, that undertaking those projects has helped me do. So,
well done.
Yeah, currently I'm getting 8 council sites onto our corporate network, and also looking at setting up the audio visual for a conference in May, which is good stuff.
Pretty good experience.
We get a photo, a big group photo up the front here with all those finalists, awards, trainees. We'll all get together up the front here. Can I just say, it's just an outstanding example of certainly the talent and certainly the breadth of experience within the organisation. There's an expectation, I think, that our community sees that. This is a great opportunity to actually see that. Thank you very much, Paul, for making all these guys feel very comfortable. But can I say, quite clearly you have a confidence about what you do, and that certainly in this place, in this boardroom, is great to have as councillors, to know that, when we look down the rows and rows of people that actually work in this place, that it's special to you, that you're prepared to learn and grow, and that gives us a great deal of confidence in this room. So I really wish you all the best. I guess this is part of it, but notwithstanding what happens, we'll have certainly gained something, and I know as individuals you will have as well. Thank you very much.
While everyone's getting place, I'll make a couple of comments as well, supporting what the Mayor said. The investment in our trainees and apprentices is a really key part of how we might plan the succession of our organisation. So our commitment to this as an organisation is strong. I want to pay recognition to people who work behind the scenes, along with Paul as well. So Alicia Cabot, our training officer, Tanya Rouse, our manager of human resources, and Paul have all played an integral role. But you'll see across the back of the room the proud supervisors from this organisation who have had a key role and been instrumental in the development of our individuals that we're placing up for recognition today. So I'd like to recognise that it is a whole of organisation approach, and everyone here is going to share in the success and motivation that these people will see, not only immediately in this process, but also throughout their careers. And I suppose for someone who's born and bred in local government, it's great to see the inspiration of the future generations coming along. That gives us confidence that the future of our industry for local government, and more importantly the Central Highlands region, is in safe and secure hands as we move forward. So on behalf of the council organisation, congratulations to each and every one of you. There is a lot of individual work that goes in to making these awards something special, and you all deserve the recognition that these nominations and potentially the awards will bring. So thank you on behalf of the organisation. Thank you.
Alright, councillors, we might get into our meeting proper, and as I just said, and as very eloquently put, it is certainly really pleased to see that group of young people that certainly does hold local government great stead in the future. Councillors, I think we're all present here today, so I don't believe there's any apologies. Is there any leave of absences required in the upcoming meeting cycle?
Mine's already recorded.
Yours is recorded, I think, Councillor Cypher, yeah? I think you are going to London, is that correct?
Rome, actually. I'm going to London first, and then on to Rome.
That is an opportunity. Thank you, Councillor Cypher. Any other leaves of absence, all right? Everyone okay? Very good.
No, I'm going over to see the baby.
Which is more important. Okay, confirmation of previous minutes, councillors, we move on to page 3. That was our general council meeting from the 10th of April. Was someone that was present having to move those? Moved by Councillor McIndoe, seconded by Councillor Godwin-Smith. We'll just review those before we adopt them. So I think I run through them down to page 13. Everyone happy with those? All right, councillors, they've been moved and seconded. Someone all in favour? Yep. Against? Thank you. Business arising out of those minutes, councillors, I think we've done that. Review of our outstanding meeting actions. As of the 20th of April, using that same colour coding. Councillors, any notes or issues out of those? Or any other comments from any of the officers to add to those lines? Yeah. So, councillors, there's actually, as Marnie just reminded me, that we do the review of the resolution register. So I guess if we'll deal with that second level. Firstly, the outstanding actions. Is there any comments or otherwise on that?
Just a question,
Yeah.
Mr Mayor, in relation to number one, the Sunwater, number one.
Oh, sorry, that's on the other one. That's on the resolution. Sorry, we'll get to that one. Sorry, we'll just deal with this current. Is there anything in this one? That starts off with the GP Super Clinic, the Emerald Airport, Memorandum of Understanding.
Just with point 13, I know, Scott mentioned that was to be updated.
Family Riding Park.
Family Riding Park.
Yes.
It would be good to just have that updated so we review what's happening, if there has been progress made there.
We'll make that.
Daniel.
Councillor Daniel, yep. Right, we'll move on to the second one, which is the master, I suppose, register. Councillor Goldschmidt, is that first one?
Yeah, I just wondered if the Sunwater topic, the Emerald Water Supply, did the meeting take place on the 19th of April with Sunwater?
Through the Mayor Councillors, yes, we had our first meeting on the 19th, and I will bring some information to the next round of council meetings.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I think the comment I had from, I think Jeff Kavanagh attended on, and Peter Manning, on their behalf. But certainly, Jeff's comments were to me very briefly was that the, certainly the Sunwater position in respect of, I suppose the methodology they're using for valuing their assets has certainly changed a little bit to be more in line with the other states in Australia. So that was a positive. I'll let that report come to council.
With regards to second page, line 206, just regarding pedestrian, which I know Gerard touched on it briefly in the session previously, but I guess that would be, you know, an opportunity for us to progress what we're doing in that area for, in relation to the pedestrian bridge, to have a focus, I guess, about what we're going to do into the future.
Correct.
Line 551, I think that must relate to the Satellite Gemfields Interpretive Cloud project, so that would be complete, just based on, it's a bit vague, but based on that $590,000 grant amount.
Yes, so that's the and David, the 1015, which is the QTIF.
Yeah, that's
so that's now complete.
Yeah. I asked last meeting for line 728, I asked for an update in regards to Emerald State High School parking issues. I know we had a brief conversation, but I just thought the rest of the group might be interested.
I did indicate we'll bring a team update to financing this next finance infrastructure, so we can see that.
Thank you.
Number 764, the Fairburn Dam Recreation Area. The comments there are quite old. Is there any refreshed conversations in that space, or?
There is three, Mr Mayor, I can respond to that one. So we're just finalising that report to come to the next strategy for council's consideration around the proposal that's been received. So we've received the proposal and we're dealing with the internal work to get a position for council to come to council. So it's due at the next strategy meeting.
Yep.
And update those comments.
Any others?
There's a few here that I just think that could be updated or closed, but rather than go line by line, it'd be good if the operations have a look at it.
Happy to take those after the meeting.
Well, I think I consider it very.
And the old sorry, the line that lines up again. The Blackwater, the old Blackwater Aquatic Centre site, we've got some updates on that one, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're still progressing some of the challenges around redesign and what that looks like in the short term for staffing options and then for the longer term solution, which we had a workshop with council late last year. We're still needing to do some macro work about connecting the International Coal Centre with the Garden area and the Central Arthur Park and everything that's been sort of discussed in that space. So we're not prepared to come back to council with all the information.
Any other issues, sir? All right, as I said, Councillor Bent, you said there's some updates there that you can, we can turn on and try and get those sorted out. All right, councillors, a review of the upcoming agenda items. Is there anything there that you think is missing or could be added?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there are a couple of budget-related items there that will come forward through the budget discussion. So the community rating concessions item being one of those, and also understanding the implications of that for the budget process as well. So those reports due back in February will be rolled into the work that we're doing on the budget process.
All right, councillors, anything else there? All right. Councillors, any material personal interest, conflicts of interest or personal gifts and benefits to declare? Good. Okay. No petition from Steve?
No petition, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. All right, in our committee recommendation notes there's some minutes from a community consultation meeting for Keller, the 5th of March. So I just, was someone that was present there like to move those? Moved by Councillor Cypress, second Councillor Nixon. We might just have a quick view through those if there's something there that you think we're fair out of the record.
Chair, if I just may make a comment, pass on the thanks of the community for promptly getting the turf and the playground open at the aquatic centre following this meeting. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Cypress. I think we should pass that thanks on to Rollo Davey and his crew. I think he was just in the room too. We missed that opportunity, but thank you, Councillor Cypress.
Just a quick update through the chair on where are we up to with the pumps and we work out the rectification works that's still required to be conducted there? At the then storage.
I think some of that's in the budget.
Yeah, well, there is some in the budget.
Some's in the budget.
Yeah, the stuff that's in the budget is just the desilting. Does that also around the pump itself and everywhere that needs rebuilding?
There's two points I think Councillor McIntyre, just from what I read, was one was certainly the silting, the other one was the shifting of the suction or moving the suction pump to a bit better site because I'm going to sound like an engineer anytime now, but the facility, obviously the equipment is obviously suitable for purpose. It's just actually a couple of modifications that will probably make it work better. But I think that were the two items that I saw of Councillor Cypress.
Regrowth in the area.
Yes.
It's the regrowth and the desilting is what it's.
And if we can get a bundle actually, just behind the.
And ongoing maintenance, like regular maintenance was the other issue they raised.
I think we pretty much covered everything in Capella that night. I think we all.
Yes, it was a good night.
All right, councillors, maybe moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? Thank you. I think page 21, we actually go to our Smart Cities Conference 2018. And this obviously falls under the General and Communities, Daniel Fletcher. Daniel, if you'd like to lead us off on this, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. Councillors, this report is brought to you for a couple of reasons, mostly from a timing perspective. You'll notice the first particular Smart Cities conference is 9th to 11th of May, so we don't have a lot of time to get some approval to send someone down to it. And I've taken the liberty of going through a number of the there's no less than 30 anyway scheduled for this financial year, this year coming up. Smart City conferences in one way or another, so given our technological advancements at this council and our intention to continue doing so, I've outlined 3 in particular that I believe are certainly going to be valuable for council to represent at. And I've noted the first one is the Australian Smart Communities Conference from the 9th to the 11th of May to be held in Melbourne. And given Councillor Daniels' representation as chair for the committee and interest in attending that, I've placed her name under that particular recommendation, and the other 2 are for council's consideration. Certainly don't even need to be confirmed at this date, but I thought I'd put them in there with the context of the entire calendar year around Smart City conferences.
All right, councillors. Well, let's deal with parts. Obviously, the first part is probably the time-sensitive one, and that is in the recommendation here that Councillor Daniels to attend the Smart Communities Conference, which is in Melbourne on this, which I think is this Beef Week. So the LGA Key Future Cities Smart Community Summit, which is in Cairns, is. Did you want to have some sort of continuity? Did you want the same councillors to attend, or did the other councillors attend?
I'm happy to attend, but it's again, or someone else. Perhaps just check that second one for the dates. And I cannot attend on that.
The third one, unfortunately, I cannot find too much, pardon me, information on the program at all at this stage.
It's not released yet.
No, so and it doesn't even give me any idea about costings or, so I just thought, oh, it sounds like a good idea, but I think I probably need a little bit more information before committing to that, because it coincides obviously, and you've highlighted that with the LGAQ annual conference, like the state conference, so. Timing was not.
Right, so maybe happy just to leave the third one until we see perhaps a little more detail.
A little more info.
Yeah, that sounds good. So happy to go to the Cairns conference of Smart Cities. Councillor Daniels, happy to do that?
I wouldn't mind registering an interest in Cairns.
Okay.
That one. It's good to support the LGAQ initiatives as well.
Okay, so just as a tip, Councillor Daniels are happy to go to Melbourne, we've got that right. So Councillor Godwin-Smith and Councillor Daniels for Cairns.
I'll just have to double check my availability, but yes, if I'm available, I can just do.
And the budget only supports one, I'm happy to just attend, but just see how that goes.
And we'll just might make that the third one might be something that we bring out some more information on, and we'll deal with that one. So the resolution would read at this stage that certainly Councillor Daniels would be attending the first conference, Councillors Godwin-Smith and Councillor Daniels registering for the second conference. Is someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Brittlecombe, seconded. Councillor McIntyre, all in favour? Against? Thank you. Right, monthly financial report, page 42.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take the running on this one. If I could ask Margaret and Wayne to come down to help provide some level of detail behind that. Given the excitement of the budget sessions this week, it's timely for us to talk about the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of March. You will see, as we track through the budget, the operating performance of the organisation remains sound in its current form. There are some budget variations, particularly around decreased revenues, which we're looking at, I suppose, in terms of the overall impact on the budget. As I have previously stated around the operating expenses, we continue to be in or around the ballpark with the operating costs for wages. That's something that we do continue to monitor. And again, the overlap with what falls into the capital budget is providing that income at the moment. I will ask Margaret or Wayne to talk about and make some reference around our cash position. And I suppose we'll keep our focus still on our outstanding and overdue rates. Mindful of the progress that we've been making so far, you will note, Council, in a previous update provided by the CEO that we did proceed to sale of land. We did have 2 parcels of vacant land in the township of Jaringa available for sale. There were no registered bids and the auction closed with no bids being proposed. So we will bring a further report back on how those 2 parcels are dealt with procedurally following the sale of land through AWS processes. Continuing of note is our delivery of the capital expenditure programs, and you can see a couple of graphs there that continue to show that we are making slow progress in the delivery of the capital program. Noting that our budget review 3, which occurs at the end of April, is something that will require some further consideration. And I know that work has been done in the background on establishing those cash flows, and again, I'll ask Margaret or Wayne to make some comment around that. In finalising my commentary at a high level over the numbers, you will see, particularly in the statement of cash flows on page 57, the cash holdings remain into the 140 million. We were forecasting a year end of just over $100 million. Obviously, the underspend in relation to the capital program will have an impact on our cash position going forward, and at this pace, there'll be more than that forecast $104 million in the bank as at the 30th of June 2008. Margaret and/or Wayne, if I could just have some commentary around the cash position and some of those other operating items, and then we'll ask Councillor for questions. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, on the cash position, as General Manager has indicated, the underspend on the capital and also on the operating means that we've got more money in the bank than we forecast to have at this point in time, and with the expected carryover or identification of carryover projects as part of BR3, we'll be looking probably at least around about 120 million closing position, possibly more for that. And then certainly, even with the due date of rates in early April, which is only a few days after the end of March, but there's still a significant increase in the cash holdings beyond the 141. The current cash positions are around about 150. And so that to spend the capital program between now and the end of the year, we'd need to be spending something like around about 16 million a month. So.
There are borrowings forecast for our 2017-18 financial year in respect of the delivery of the Black Gully sewage treatment plant. Those borrowings are in the order of $5 million, and if the cash flow doesn't warrant that loan being drawn down this financial year, we won't draw it. Some forecasting of that work does show it will progress into the 2018-19 financial year, but as we better understand that project in the early part of June, we'll make those decisions on whether we draw down funds in advance of their requirements. There are no other points to add in relation to the operating or the capital. The council is happy to take questions on the report.
Probably a commentary there. Just in the arrears, the amounts of funding, there are bigger amounts in the non-principal place of residence. And we do charge extra for those codes and etc. I was just wondering, is that the impact that's making that show up there? Because a lot of these homes probably aren't rented at the moment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe so, Councillor Nixon. That's one of our points to discussion in our rating strategy this year, is the fact that that non-principal place of residence category does attract quite a loading above a normal residence in terms of the rate in the dollar. We know that the occupancy rate right across the region has been low for a period of years now. And at the time at which people made commitments into those investment properties, the forecasted rents would be markedly different to what they are now. So apart from the potential vacancy rate in the market, there would be an expectation gap around the rent that would have been thought to have been received at the point at which those investments were made against the currently available rental market and what the market's providing for. So there is a point of pressure there, and we are conscious of that. So it is a point for us to try and focus our energies to assist those residents who are owner occupiers as well as non-principal place of residence owners, to try and deal with those. As we've seen the values of the land decrease across the region over a period of years now, and that appears to plateau. The recent activity across the region would suggest that occupancy rates are improving, so we might be seeing a return to some normality of those cycles where at least properties are occupied and generating a cash flow as distinct from no cash flow.
Because it's significantly higher than the principal house residence.
Yeah, and that's markedly driven by the ability to claim taxation benefits as a result of that investment.
So, other than the fact that there was only 2 parcels of land passed in, obviously the other arrears were collected in relation to disposal.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, arrears were paid in full. A lot of financial institutions came to the party at the 11th hour, as is normally expected through those processes. And the value of the outstanding rates on the vacant parcels was possibly a deterrent on the ability to attract bids at that point in time as well.
Any other comments or questions?
So in just closing out, Mr. Mayor, we will be back in front of council with that budget review 3 at the end of April, which will have a much closer analysis of the delivery of the capital works programs for that time. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jason. So, councillors, so that's the monthly report. Would someone like to move that we receive that? Moved by Councillor Brindle, seconded by Councillor Daniels. All in favour? Yes? Thank you. Well, we move to page 58, which is 13.2 operational plan 2017 Q3 performance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll leave this one off and I'll ask Kale, our Manager Governance, to provide some further support on the details of that report. Councillors, just by way of introduction, you can see by the summary table on page 58 in our performance that whilst we are making progress, there has been some slippage since last time. Some of the initiatives may not be finished and completed by the end of the operational plan year, as at the 30th of June. And whilst the financial performance is consistent in supporting that, the concern really is around the non-delivery of some of those activities. I might ask Mr. Daniel to make some commentary around that report and then open it up for some questions right across the executive on some of the individual line items contained in there. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Good afternoon, everyone. Almost despite its fairly uninspiring title, the operational plan in Queensland Local Government is really where the rubber hits the road. The council has as is required, a corporate plan, and equally requiring time, but a corporate plan which really sets the agenda for the current term of this council, and that was adopted last year. And then on an annual basis in advance of budget, you adopt an operational plan, which is the tasks that are set for the organisation to do for that period of time. We report to you quarterly on the performance, and that's what this report is today for the quarter ending March 2018. As Jason pointed out, it's mixed results. There are 129 actions across the 6 priority areas. 20% of those are reported as 100% complete, and 2 in fact exceeding that mark. There are a further 44 actions that are 75% complete or greater, but there are 20 projects that are reported as not on time, including things like the livability strategy, housing strategy, marketing strategy, the biodiversity area plan for Jaringa with regard to flying foxes, conservation management plan, Springshire Hospital Museum, bikeway and pathway, strategic plan, amongst others. So it's with regret that we report those things to you, but it is a realistic assessment of where those projects are at. So whilst we can be pleased with the closeout rate of a number at the top end, there are some others that require some work in the next period of time It's quite a detailed report, as you've seen. Happy to take questions on those, a number of which will probably be on notice. It does involve all parts of the organisation.
Just noting, I think Carl, obviously, the first couple you mentioned there, housing disposals and things are being dealt with, I guess, in the short term, I think, coming, but notwithstanding those, councillors might have some other questions about some of the other time frames, I suppose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the focus has really gone on improving the readability of this report. Fairly intensive detail provided in spreadsheets. So hopefully there's value seen by the councillors, and you can pick up the on time on budget commentary where it's not the case as a point of highlight. I might invite Mr. Mayor, if I can, any of the other executives to make commentary around one or two of those projects if they feel so inclined, particularly those that may not be on time.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Informing councillors, we've discussed recently, it is setting the priorities, the livability strategy, and that is the first one you'll see in the report that's not on time, and the commentary related to that one is important because there's definitely value in progressing that fast and getting external people to develop our livability strategy. It's certainly been a position of mine in the department that we get the right people on board to help contribute to that and build that livability strategy internally. So we are in the process of progressing the recruitment of the strategic land use planning department, which will be responsible for finalising. So it indicates there that it's at 60% complete, so we are definitely on the way to completing it. I'm not sure that we're, I certainly would be supportive of getting the last part of that completed by external consultants at this stage.
I'll move.
All right, no, I just looked at it the time, obviously looked through them, so. All right, so, Councillor Brindlecoat moved that we received that operational plan. Someone happy to second that? Second by Councillor Godwin-Smith. All in favour? Against? Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
All right, councillors, I think the next one is on page 90, which is the CHDCK report field. Exactly, so that's pretty much how it reads.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Report's been compiled through the CEO's office. I'm not aware of the real detail on this, whether it can require any further assistance from the General Manager of the Development Corporation.
Councillor, this was only just the process of just ratifying Councillor Godwin-Smith's attendance. We discussed this, I think, previously. This is just the process of actually getting it through our council meeting. So someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Robb, second Councillor Sypher. All in favour? Against? Thank you. All right. We are through the general business before we go to anyone actually here today, so that's not inconvenient.
General business.
Sorry, general business, yeah.
I just want to comment that on the banking issue, that the Mara Bank closes today. ANZ, the most banking Mara closed business today, and there was on radio this morning that now there's no bank in between Dillawira and Amble, so
312 kilometres.
312 kilometres, yes, Council.
I didn't do the calculations.
It certainly gives you the right impression that 312 kilometres. And people there looking at having armour guards deliver their cash and at that expense, obviously.
Chamber, Commonwealth close too.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, we have had further conversation with another bank today, and we're just trying to line up time that
fix the people from meetings over the next after beat that it seems at this stage is the only time that actually reapproached us. So there's
Also, Jenny Lofty has been away and been talking to somebody too Sunday. I don't know which one, but she has been there talking to someone.
Well, it's certainly clearly showing that obviously any initiative about banking services is going to have to be done by local communities, otherwise you'll be doing it online if you've got connectivity. So it's very, very sad. And Clermont's been the same.
Yes,
So that's a bit more substantive community, so there's been a line of sand drawn, and obviously people are, certainly regional Queensland will be forward for it. Thanks, Councillor Roll. Any other general business, councillors?
I just want to thank you. Just to let you know, in theory, NAB closed last year, but QCCU will be closing in June, so there'll be no banking facilities in theory. Queensland Country Club.
Might be a commercial opportunity for council delivering money.
Well, I spoke to Queensland Country Credit Union in Charles House when I was up there for whatever it was.
Bush Council.
And they were saying then that they weren't open, they weren't doing any more business, so Charles House was sort of the closest they get.
I just think that the whole model is changing, and we all are changing the way in which we deal with the banking business. So I just think that, to me, I think the greater argument and issue for us is good Wi-Fi, good broadband, and the ability to be able to go online. Not many of us go to banks anymore anyway.
Exactly.
So, and I think the greatest loser of this is those communities that haven't got the Wi-Fi and broadband facilities and are unable to do what most of us do now. Through apps and stuff that are, you got on your phone, you can find instantaneously the balance in every bank, you can transfer between all your accounts, you can do anything off your phone as long as you've got the Wi-Fi and broadband. And so I just think that the inequities argument we talked a little about this morning, and the appeal to the feds is to get bloody broadband, NBN or something working, so that all of our rural communities and regional communities have at least got some access to opportunities. And I think that's what, when I talk to QCCU and others about Thierry and NAB, it's not about their lack of confidence in the communities, it's not about their lack of confidence, it's that everybody's doing their banking differently. So, to lose the battle trying to fill holes, I think, at the moment, got to get new processes and get smarter with it all. What small business do and needs cash is a different thing. I think you have to work our way through that in a different way too.
So, as I'd like to just put it out there to the public that we don't then stop our intent of having banking in Springsure and Ralston. I'd hate to see that all of a sudden the council says, oh no, well we're moving towards internet banking, etc. Because it's been shown in Springsure Ralston area that we do still need to have a cash banking and a facility. So,
look, I think local government's obviously going to try and fill that space in terms of providing a service, and we always will. But then what Councillor Bell's saying is that the alternative is that when you ask the question, that's what they're going to tell you. Yeah. So our advocacy argument should be, well, we can do that as long as we've got connectivity. So fix us up.
Fix it up, but it's going to be a while before they fix that up, isn't it? So we've got to have services.
But it's just as important, probably, not to use the argument that we all have changed our banking habits. It's just got to be about the alternatives. You've got to be connected. So we'll have to articulate that in what we do. Yeah, we'll have that forum actually at Western Queensland Local Government Association. I'm sure that's going to be interesting. All right, councillors, any other general business? We've got a couple of closed sessions item and we might do that. So, did someone move that we go into closed session, please? Moved by Councillor Nixon, second Councillor Goodwin. All in favour? Against? As you know, all officers are involved or against any of those decisions under our standing orders for legal.